Alright, Mortal Kombat has a decent handle on sorcery. Shang Tsung and Quan Chi are two of MK's greatest characters, and now Rain in his own sense has become a mage of sorts. Delia is a lone female sorceress who has made brief appearances in the series, but what if a true playable sorceress was introduced into the franchise? Well, MK may have the perfect non-canon character to bring in, from a pretty unlikely source. Okay, so I'm going to start entertaining the idea of introducing non-canon characters or NPCs into different fighting game franchises. And before I get started, I would like to remind you all to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. But starting off, I'm going to go all the way back to 1998 with the lesser-known TV show called Mortal Kombat Conquest. Conquest not being spelled with a K is still crazy to me. But that show introduced quite a few characters and bits of lore that we still see in Mortal Kombat to this day. For example, Takeda was portrayed as the founder of sorts of the Shirai Ryu, though it's not said by name to be the Shirai Ryu, but you get the picture. He's also claimed to be the original Scorpion in that show, but we're just going to gloss over that entirely. But the show did give us a lot of insight into the life of the great Kung Lao and his fight against Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn after winning in Mortal Kombat. And it is in this fight that we are introduced to one of the most powerful characters that's often overlooked from this show, even when people think back and revisit it. And that's the Sorceress, Omegis. If there was ever a character that was tailor-made for Liu Kang's new era, it's her. As I said earlier, the closest that MK has ever come to an actual sorceress is Delia, the mother of Taven and Dagon from Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Delia was never really a playable character in the franchise, and story-wise, being honest, she may have been responsible for one of the most convoluted journeys in MK history, but that is a conversation for another day. Omegis as a character would actually be pretty refreshing to Mortal Kombat and would be a nice little chaotic neutral to throw into the series. The likelihood of her growing into a popular character to me would be pretty high, and here's why. Let's look at her actual backstory in Mortal Kombat Conquest. In the series, Omegis was the love interest of Shang Tsung, of all people, and practiced creating many different potions and spells. The one goal of hers was to create a potion to keep her beautiful good looks forever, basically reversing the aging process. Well, in typical Shang Tsung fashion, he betrayed his master along with her help, but not before Omegis was cursed with immortality. And of course, Shang Tsung, being the loving boyfriend that he is, betrays her too and then skedaddles over the Outworld to join Shao Kahn. And the rest is history. This of course leaves Omegis ageless and alone. Now, you would ask yourself, how would a woman this beautiful be alone? Well, the answer's pretty simple. Why attach yourself to different men and boyfriends, husbands, etc. when they're just gonna die out and you're just gonna keep living on? You could imagine how this would make Omegis a pretty bitter old woman as time passes. However, as centuries passed, her skills grew immensely. She pretty much learned to reverse aging, can heal most if not all injuries, and pretty much anything you can think of she's capable of with her potions. Well, anything except aging herself. That's a pretty interesting backstory that could flesh in very well in the new era. Now, I would never suggest bringing her back exactly in the same form that she was in on the show, just something along the lines of what they did with Takeda, which is why I brought him up earlier. They didn't just make Takeda the original Scorpion that founded the Shirai Ryu and MKX, cause that would be insane. Instead, they introduced him as a member of the Shirai Ryu and also aligned him with Scorpion. So you get the callbacks from the show while still introducing a completely different character. You could do something very similar here. Honestly, you can change her backstory however you see fit to place her in the new era. She could kinda still be Shang Tsung's former love interest, just in Outworld. We don't really know, outside of Shang Tsung being a bit of a crook, what he was up to prior to joining up with Sindele's regime in the new era. And then there's the question of her playstyle, which could be a lot of fun. Potions could make her an overpowered mess if done properly, in the best of ways, by the way. I wouldn't suggest she should play anything like the Collector in MK11, but some weird combination of like MK1 Smoke, MK11 Noob, and maybe even MKX Quan Chi. The possibilities of what these potions can do are endless. Could you even imagine the fatalities? Shang Tsung's are already gross enough. As far as her looks, obviously Netherrealm is no longer going to allow her to be half naked the way she was introduced in the start of the show, but her look later on in the show with the hooded robe would work just fine. As you can see, I took my own hand at trying to come up with concept art or just playing with ideas of what her potential look could be. Personally speaking, I'd even model her after Angelica Bridges, who was the actress that played her in the show. I know and understand that I complain a lot about the amount of Mortal Kombat characters that are disregarded over time, like they never existed. This is also a reason why Cole bothers me in the Mortal Kombat movie, but one problem at a time. But that being said, introducing new characters to the franchise, especially at this point in MK1, might be a bit much. However, I still think that introducing characters that are still connected to the series would still be cool if you can find a way to tie everything together story-wise, even if some of those characters were former NPCs or non-canon characters. Hell, in my mind, it's still way better than loading the games with a bunch of guest characters. There's too many fighters in MK to be doing that's already missing. But I don't know. How would the idea of Omegis being introduced into the series as a new sorceress appeal to you? Do you think Mortal Kombat could use or even really needs a female sorceress? Or how do you think the playstyle of her would fit if she was put into the game? In any event, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And you all have a good one, and I'm out.